So let's put on our clean canvas. And a lot of times I have no idea where this look is going to go. So I'll just start with the clean canvas from my lid to my brow bone. And a lot of times you might see me wipe that off and you're thinking, Rose, why didn't you just leave that lid space clean or that certain area? It's because I don't really know what I'm doing. But I know it's usually best to start with clean canvas from my lash line to my brow bone. I'm home. I am so happy to be home. I am back in my makeup room with all of my spicy goodies. Let's do a look. All right, let's use this palette again because it's a spicy price. But I will say that that first look I did with it was probably one of my favorite looks ever. It was so pretty. But let's try out the more neutral shades. Let's see what happens. And here's an eyeshadow base tip for you. If you've ever wondered why I use different colored eyeshadow bases, it's because the lighter the eyeshadow base, the truer the color in the palette. Now, I grabbed fair today because it was the closest to me. I'm going to be using neutrals, so it's not going to matter as much. You can use one close to your skin tone, but the lighter it is, say if I was using this blue here, I would want that to be as true on my eye as it is in the pan. And if I were to use shade medium or a little bit darker eyeshadow base, it wouldn't be as bright and as vivid. So whenever you want a very bright, vivid eyeshadow, you would use white or the lightest shade, no matter the skin tone. Remember, it gets completely covered, so it's not like foundation. Also, I just want to say I love how cool tone this is. That's so nice. Also, cool tones, I have a lot. I mean, it's been a second. 2 days off and I'm out here going over the full basics. Cool tones are very intimidating. I know that they are. And they're another trust the process. Completely trust the process. And I know this because I just could not love cool tones. Back before I found out later I could clean this up. This is all going to come together. Adding foundation makes such a difference. So just trust your process when it comes to cool tones. So this little section right here is speaking to me. We're not going to get too wild, but it'll probably still be pretty spicy. Let's grab an E28 and we're going to start with this shade. And I'm grabbing it on the side of the brush. And the reason why is we're kind of just going to do a clean sweep and press this across our upper crease and into the crease. Just kind of keep tapping that back and forth. Notice how it just kind of smoothed out. But also just trust the process with this technique. Cleanup is so important. I feel like we forget about that. We try to keep everything so precise as we're doing it, but it's actually going to be so much easier just to clean it up later. Also, these 1 minute slides, I love them because you get to see that blend in real time. A lot of times y'all have asked me, well, what happened? Well, there it all. So now let's grab this shade, but you're going to notice I'm going to grab it on the tip of the brush. That's because I don't want as much of this one. And I also want to be able just to press it into my socket here. So I'm going to place it in the deepest part. And if you're not sure where that is, you can always, I'm grabbing more of that same shade. I'm going to start on this side. You can always just tilt your head back and kind of feel for it. Look down and then just continue to press it in there with the brush. This brush actually was designed for that. It's very flat compared to most blending brushes. Again, I'm going to pick that up, kind of tilt my head back, and then just continue to push that in there. This is a really good way to kind of find your socket. And then from there, I'm going to grab a little bit more, kind of do the same thing, but I'm going to go a little bit above, and I'm still tapping with the tip of the brush just to shade. So I think I'll take that same dark brown, the one that's in our socket, and I'll just kind of connect it here. I think we're going to skip a wing today. But we do want a little bit of lift. So connecting this outer part here will give us that little bit of lift without the wing. Plus, look at how easy that was. Again, it's because how flat this brush is. I knew I wanted precision, but the ability to blend. Look at that. That's nice. So I'm just gonna grab whatever base is left here, minus that Gene Bean hair. Where is that Gene Bean? I think he's downstairs with this granny. And we'll just kind of clean up the lid space here. I'm not gonna carve it out. Also, I don't really want to carve this out either. I wanna kind of smoke that into our foundation in just a little while, but we have to get our base on. So stay tuned for that. But let's just make sure this is really nice and tacky. The more tacky your lid space is when you go to apply your shimmer, the more intense that shimmer is going to be. If you've ever noticed, I use a C30, we'll get to that, but you'll also notice I never wet my brushes, and that's because I'm dealing with a very tacky base, and it kind of has the moisture there already. That way we don't have to worry about wetting our brushes, we can just go right in. But we're going to talk a little bit more about flat brushes and shimmers. Look what I have. Do you see that? Oh, I know you see it. Sparkles. I mean, it is October. It's spooky month. Let's put these on. I'm so excited. Let me figure out where I want to trim them because there's a sparkle on there. Hang on. So if you've also ever wondered why I never use my fingertip, I feel like this flat brush right here in particular just picks up the shimmers really nicely. So also remember, I grab a lot of shimmers. So you'll notice with mattes, I'm very specific. But with my shimmers, I load up that brush. See that? Ooh, that's so real pretty. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to zoom you in. And we want to make sure that's even. Just tap that back in. And then with this brush, it's basically your fingertip, but better. I mean, you see that? And the reason that it's better is because, especially with my fingertips and most people's fingertips, you don't have this precision. So I'm not going to do a cut crease, but I'm going to show you that you have cut crease precision. Notice that I haven't dipped back in. And if we want to layer this up, we can, but it's really about initially setting that base first. I feel like cut creases can be intimidating because most of the time we are taught that we need base to really carve it out. And it does make a little bit more of a difference. But if you want to practice, a brush like this and a pigmented shimmer is ideal. Also notice I'm going to keep this area clean because I'm going to add a little bit of liner just to my lash line. And because I don't want this to be too defined, I am just going to tap it a little bit towards the crease, just softening it. It's going to have some definition, but not too much. That color is stunning. Now I'm actually going to grab this little liner here. These are from Shiseido. I highly recommend you get the black, brown, and the gray. Their gray is wild. It's so good. So we're going to take that and run it along our lash line. Really trying to make sure I'm wiggling it into my lashes. Makes such a difference. Then before it sets, and this is so important, I feel like a lot of times nobody ever told us that shadows, liners, foundations, so many formulas set so quickly. In fact, I'm talking too much. We're gonna grab a little bit of that brown shadow that's in our socket and just tap and blend it into this to kind of soften these edges. But you wanna do it quickly because again, a lot of formulas dry and then it's impossible to blend them. And I'm using an E27 for this. So if you check my saved highlights, very recently I just did a lash tutorial, but these are going to be a little bit different. Let's see what's going on here. Because it's harder to trim these because they do have the little jewel. Yeah, those are much too long. I knew that they were going to be. I think that we might have to trim off the first jewel. I know it's painful, but it is what it is. And if you'll go check there, I already know this is going to be perfect. So much better. If you'll go check there, you'll see how I trim them. Perfect. Okay, let's pop this lash on. Let's let it get a little bit more tacky. We're going to try out this foundation here. We're doing a first impression here. I'm excited. This is from Catrice. This is their HD liquid coverage, but this one has niacinamide. I don't know if it always did. I don't think it did, but y'all know I love niacinamide, especially when it comes to makeup application, skin prep, and in the foundation. I'm excited. These are my new favorite cream blushes. I love them. I also love that it's a smaller brand. So you see this peachy shade right here? We're gonna take about that much. So important for you to see. Oh, Beanie is down there calling for me. I gotta go get him. Okay, and then we'll just kind of melt that in. And then it'll just be a little bit more peach for us. And it'll darken it just a little bit. Because again, I have concealer videos and they mention your concealer being way too light and how that really doesn't benefit us unless we're layering it on top of an already perfect match. And then now that it's really nice and tacky, I'm just going to use these tweezers just to kind of press it on there. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing my natural lashes into the falsy. Also, check my recent reels about the foundation application. Please don't think that you're going to waste any foundation doing this. You're not. And you don't need to just completely cover the entire cheek, but it just needs to be a nice, smooth application. And what was on my hand, I've already used it all. I'm going to come back to this later anyways. So a lot of times I have people saying, oh, well, that's just wasteful. I'll drop it on my face. But it's not wasteful. There's nothing wasteful about this technique because the way that I apply things, I always come back. I come back to it, so this isn't going to be wasted. I haven't worn this, so we'll have to see how this wears. I'll wear it for the rest of the day, and I'll let y'all know tomorrow. It's pretty. It's a little too light, but if you've been here a second, you know that we kind of correct everything with our cream bronzer and cream blush. It's pretty. I'm also going to tell you something that we were taught that was such a bad thing, and it's really not. It's just about just waiting it out. You kind of have to. It's not bad. And that's when foundation dries, the word oxidize. It's not a bad thing because a lot of these long wear waterproof foundations, you can't tell what color they are until you let them dry. So you'll see this right here. It's actually a really nice color match. That's really, really nice once it's dried. But I'm gonna drop a little bit more next to it and you're gonna see how different that looks. See that? It looks a lot more yellow. This is nice and dried and it looks nice and pink and a little bit neutral. So just wait for them to dry and don't think of it as a bad thing. It's the ingredients and those ingredients are needed. This is waterproof. It's needed. This is actually my favorite part. So I love to take the E29 and I'm taking a little bit of that foundation. Remember the one that we thought that we might waste? We're definitely not wasting it now. And I'm just tapping that around here and I'm grabbing the smallest amount of foundation. You'll see it there. Start here in the center and then take it over this way, take it around the brows, take it through here, take it across this very top part. It just cleans everything up. This really helps kind of bring everything back together. I talked about this concealer. Give it a little shake. This concealer right here, I'm telling y'all, I actually have a little bit darker shades coming. This one does work beautifully. It's just a smidge too light. In fact, I might get a little wild and, okay, I need you to trust the process, okay? This is a serious pro tip, but you can do it. So now we're gonna grab a C31 and we're just gonna tap that in. And that's not gonna change the formula because we used the smallest amount and it's a cream. So that's gonna mix in really nicely. By the way, this is not the pink under eye situation. This is just shifting that concealer a little bit darker and a little bit more peach. This right here, the Sephora collection, which I still absolutely love. This one right here is my perfect shade and you can see that that just shifted it closer to that. And it's perfect. Let's use our She Glam powder, shade Bisque. I don't know how long you have been with me, but about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe 2 years now. This was my go-to affordable powder. And I kind of just start using all kinds of things. I mean, you know how it is. Things come out and we try them. This powder is so good. I forgot how good it is for the price. It's so smoothing. Okay, I'm just gonna let y'all know I'm not loving the way that this one, Ben is on a phone call. Let me go get this under control. I'm not loving the way this foundation is looking. Let me go shut the door and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, you also know that I try a lot of things and I'm able to tell very quickly what is working and what isn't. I find that it's kind of separating here and I haven't even set it here. I'm not loving this. This is unfortunate. This isn't what my skin normally looks like. Ooh, this front camera on the new phone is wonderful. Yeah, so we always give things another chance, but I can kind of already tell that even with the second chance, I'm not gonna love it, but we're not like that here. We are very fair and we are kind. So far I'm not vibing, but again, what the heck? We'll try it. We'll try it one more time. We'll try it again tomorrow and see what happens. Skin prep is always the same. I never normally have these issues, so if I'm having the issue, it's usually the foundation. But you know what? We're gonna learn from this. You can kind of fill in gaps and kind of smooth everything with powder foundation. I'm going to use just a smidgy of this powder foundation here from MAC, and I'm going to use that prototype brush, and I'm just going to kind of fill in these gaps. See, trial and error, y'all. So if you're in a hurry and you're trying out the new foundation, which I don't recommend doing, but if it does happen, just grab your powder foundation and just press it in a very thin veil. Don't apply this like we're applying it as powder foundation. Apply it like we're applying it to kind of fix makeup sabotage. What happens is powder foundation is very pigmented. It's a lot more pigmented. I have a video on powders, but powder foundation is more pigmented than translucent loose, any other powder. There's more pigment in this. And what happens, it just kind of lays there and fills in those gaps. So really helpful tip. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely wearable. So we're gonna use the Make Beauty bronzer. This is the shade Dune. Telling y'all, don't sleep on this brand. I want y'all to know that I try so many different brands every day. And I'm able to because I do so many tutorials and so many looks. I don't just do one look ever so often. I usually do sometimes 3 looks a day. So I'm able to try a lot of makeup. So if I am kind of giving something praise, it's good. And you might want to check it out. And while we're on that note, same goes for brushes. Brushes were hard though, so that's why I said, let's design our own, because I've tried a lot. So the foundation wound up being a really decent match. So we didn't have to do the cream bronzer trick. So we're just gonna use the powder bronzer, but just to bring back this little bit of flow going on here. From here to here, you'll see that there's a little bit more pink from here down. That's what blush is for. Let's finish up the eye. We're gonna grab the dark brown again, if I can get in here. Goodness gracious. Remember this dark brown? Let's grab that. Grab it on the center of the brush. You'll see it right there. And I also wanna mention, look at that. This front camera, it'll focus. That's pretty awesome. See how the brush is in focus? And then we're just gonna press that underneath here. Notice that I'm pressing, that really helps with any kind of fallout. Since we already have our concealer done, we could dust it away. There are ways, but we might as well just prevent that. Look at how nicely that just pressed that right under there. And then let's connect it. And then just soften these edges again. I didn't want it harsh, I wanted it to kind of melt into the skin. Now we're gonna grab our E28 and just kind of tap out these edges. Just really melt it into the foundation, the concealer. I don't have anything on the brush, whatever was left. I keep thinking that this is something on my lash and I'm like, let's use this blush. I wonder if it's gonna look good on my skin tone right now. I'm a lot more tan than when I used to wear this kind of color. By the way, this is completely a dupe for Kylie Cosmetics Winter Kissed blush. So if you like that blush, this is a dupe. In fact, I feel like this one's more pigmented because I feel like that one doesn't work on my skin tone anymore. But this is definitely a very cool tone blush. And I wanted something more cool tone. That is so pretty. I love it. Okay, I'm just giving out all the tips today. I just feel so inspired. So you're gonna notice that this blended out, I don't know if you can see it. I know I look at eyeshadows all day long so I can see, but this has a little bit of a pinky undertone. The way that this shadow transitioned, this is just gonna make everything look incredibly smooth. So I haven't picked any more blush up on my brush, but I'm just gonna hit it right there. And it'll just really smooth everything. Do you see that? So cool, right? I love makeup. So I want to try out the lipstick. This is Pat McGrath. I believe this is the holiday collection. I'm 99.9% sure. The shade is called Soft Core. And let's just start with the lipstick. Definitely cool tone. Love it. But let's pair it with a darker lip liner and see what happens. That color is gorgeous with the blush. Ooh. Let's try it with this brown lip liner. And I know brown lip liner can be intimidating, but it's a lot less intimidating when you apply it after your lipstick. That way you can just kind of blend it. And I picked this one because I know it's a more cool tone. Just trying to keep everything nice and cool tone. And just like with most of the things that I do, trust the process. I myself had to learn how to trust the process. Brush on this end and let's just blend it. So when you get to where I am in my makeup journey, still learning every day, but by now I'm not done with the lip, but I can kind of just imagine these tones here. So I knew that this lipstick had a really cool tone to it, and I knew that this did as well. So you put them together and you're kind of mimicking what we have going on here, but now it's here. By the way, I've also been using my C30 as a lip brush, and it's absolutely perfect. But I want to show you something else about the brushes. They'll all do this too, but you can see how much lipstick's on there. I'm just going to kind of continue to blend it. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Let's kind of blend it here. Okay, that looks nice. So then I'm just gonna grab Sheila. Sheila is not microfiber, it's just a towel. I'm gonna wipe it on here. Nothing on there, it's not wet. And then I'm going to just kind of pinch the bristles. And then I'm able to go on the outside and clean it. The bristles just don't absorb product. So I didn't have to go clean this, I just wiped it off. All right, and now I know we learned something today, because even I think I just learned something that I want to do. I'm going to film a video on it. I made a note, but I just thought of something. It didn't happen today because I love this bronzer, but a lot of times when we put too much bronzer on, we'll go back over it with our foundation brush and then it becomes muddy. Well, that means gray. And then if we want to lift that back, this is going to be so much easier when I actually film it. I'm a visual person too, but I'll just finish it. When we add a little bit of red back into that muddy bronzer, it's going to come back to life. So I thought of that today and I'm excited to film that. Again, that'll be a whole video with me actually demonstrating, not just pointing at you, telling you. All right, my sweet friends, I am going to do a little coffee run. I love my coffee runs. They're so relaxing. And you know what? We're gonna take the golf cart too. And it's a little bit cooler today, so it's a fall day. I'm very excited. And then I'm gonna come back and do the other thing that I love, and that's film more content and play in makeup. I love you all so much. It feels so good to be back and be in my room and just be able to create content. Honestly, that's my favorite thing to do. My favorite thing to do is to sit here and play in the makeup and tell you about it and make it easier for you. That's what I love to do. I love y'all so much, and I'm not sure what I'm posting tonight, but of course I'll be posting, and I'll see you in the comments there.